So, hello, Hanna.
Hi.
This is the first time, I think, that we meet personally. And usually, the first time I went through about this kind of podcast is I'm using my natural curiosity, usually to go very deep, to get to know the person on a very emotional level, to fully understand how they perceive their life, their experiences, what shaped them, their sense of purpose, how they grew up, and so on. Mm-hmm. Now, I tend to get very deep. At the same time, I invite you to also notice what is within your boundaries. So if something is too deep or you don't want to talk about a certain subject, just let us know and we welcome everything.
Yeah, sounds good.
And also, there is Rachel here that will balance me out. Yeah. She's the more soft side and at times can be the more attuned one, so she'll also balance me out.
Cool. I'm super deep and I'm an open book. I can talk about anything. So, but yeah, I appreciate the invitation. If something feels like too much, I will set a boundary.
Yeah. And also, in this podcast, there is no agenda. Nothing has to happen. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I will use my curiosity to focus on you, sometimes on Rachel. You can use your curiosity to focus on both of us. So there is no certain aim, right? It's just like a free-flowing conversation. We go and say whatever we want without names and just do our best to enjoy it.
Cool.
So how did you two meet?
We met on Facebook.
Yeah.
What was that? How did we run into each other on Facebook?
I think you were looking for someone for a podcast.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Rachel, you reached out and then we started talking in private and we started, I could hear her Hebrew accent and then I was like, oh, את מדברת עברית. And like in Hebrew, I was like, are you speaking? I'm also an Israeli. So, and since then we're just connected and we never did the podcast.
We tried many times.
Yeah, but we connected and since then it's been, very special relationship to me.
Good. So what's alive in you now? How are you feeling?
I feel pretty grounded. And also just sharing that with you feels pretty vulnerable in me. I just I felt like some vulnerability of like sharing this like truth because like, it's just like some shyness to be seen in that or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And is there something that we can do to accommodate your shyness?
No, I just feel like just naming it is really feels good to me.
Yeah, speaking for it.
Yeah, just like like I really like to kind of like bring up whatever feels true for me in the moment, and like if there's some shyness or judgment or whatever it is, like if I could bring that and not like bulldoze through it, if that makes sense, like act like everything is great when it's like there's some vulnerability here that's coming up.
I really appreciate it and I'm very touched. And I also see it as very special. In fact, I also feel that I have a needy part that needs more from you. And that's alive in me in the past few days. That's how I felt. I felt maybe a slight disconnect. And I wanted to talk and create a connection. So, and then a part of me wants to apologize for being needy. Sorry, others, just so you know.
I appreciate you sharing, and I think that's what I so love about our relationship and like our connection, because like I know that you're always gonna be true and honest with me and like direct, and that's the things that I'm looking for in relationships with other people. Like I want truth. I don't want like, oh, let's just act like we're like besties, and then there's all these layers of neediness, of vulnerability, or like all these things that are coming up that are not like being talked about. To me, I can like feel that in a lot of connections, and it's not like I'm like a pro at it because I'm always going to learn. I'm always learning. But I know that this is something that is a high value to me. Like this is something that I want to have in my relationships with my partner, with my friends, with my community, with like my family if I can. But there's all these different layers that sometimes it's harder to actually be like that. But sometimes it's easier with people that are almost like giving permission with the way that they're showing up.
Yeah. So the authenticity, vulnerability, transparency, and truth.
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
And also the courage to speak for things that might not be easy to speak for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, things that a lot of people are like avoiding or kind of bypassing or like going over. I mean, one example, if it's okay that I'll share, is that like I feel like I was talking about it like with like women's group, for example. Like what I really desire in connection with women or with humans in general is like, so there's like this place where, let's say we go to a group and then, you know, we get assignments and things that we need to kind of talk about, and okay, now we're going to share this or now we're going to share that. But sometimes there's like, I kind of see the patterns and the energy when I'm like talking about it. So it's like maybe hard to explain it in words, but like a net, like, so there's like the net of the container, and sometimes the net has ruptures in it. For example, if I have a woman in the group that I have like some resistance to or have some judgment about, there's a rupture in the net. I want to be able to restore the rupture.
Would the rupture also be a degree of disconnect?
Yeah, totally. Disconnect, judgment, stories I have about this person, maybe a weird energy I feel from another person. But instead of talking about that and like, again, like it's what's the actual truth is here in this moment, is like we're just kind of like ignoring it and just like, or not ignoring it. It's just like, it's not, I think it's just where those groups are not like really built for that. And I feel like I'm noticing like this is what I desire. I want to be able to be in a place where we can work on the net that holds the container, that then creates deeper intimacy and deeper vulnerability and deeper truth.
Yeah. And the way that you value doing it is by bringing it into the light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why did Hanna come to this planet?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is where things are going to get really weird.
We need this podcast sounds, right? I have it, actually. It's there, but okay.
This is like, and you're also catching me in a very, very, very critical time of on my journey, because like I'm finding more about myself always, but like, I mean, again, it's such a big question, and thank you for asking that. And what I'll say for now is like, I feel like there is, gosh, how do I answer this question?
The answer could also be from different perspectives or different dimensions, right? It doesn't have to be like a one-set answer. From this perspective, this is why Hanna came, and from this perspective is why. Okay,
thank you for saying that. That really simplified things for me. I think I came here to help people remember who they are, the truth of who they are, which is going to impact entire humanity, because I feel like we're all, as a collective, we're heading toward remembrance of the truth of who we are individually and collectively. And I feel like if we're looking at it as like a spiral of truth of who we are, then there's a lot of like ruptures and holes in the spirals that made us forget who we are. Again, individual level and collective level. And so I think for me is like the process is to be aware of these ruptures that made us forget, and then to bring it back to wholeness and to remember the truth of who we are.
Who we are? Like, who are you?
So this is actually something that I'm learning, and what's been coming up for me a lot in the past few months is I've been connecting with my star family. Like it's like origins, like it feels like a soul origin where I'm from. It may sound a lot of like really weird for some people, but I've been connecting with like like specifically my parents, like my mom and my dad, specifically my dad. My mom is more like, the mother is like more like in the background, because she's not the energy that like really I need at this point in my life. And my father has been connecting with me and communicating with me, and he has been sharing with me about the star that I'm from, and like the things that I used to do there, which is what I'm bringing to this planet, which I don't know if you know, but I'm in this process of birthing my modality, which includes a lot of different things. We may talk about it later, but yeah, like it's like this modality is something that I've done for a very, very long time in that planet. And now I'm kind of translating it to this physical reality that on planet Earth. So I feel like the real me is, I guess, like you said, there's so many perspectives and so many lens I could put on and say the answer from, but I feel like it's everything. It's just like a vast energy, like consciousness, like pure consciousness. That like that's to me like that's the where everything starts, and then all of the other layers are arising in it. If that makes sense.
And that consciousness, would you refer that to as God? Or source?
Yeah, I like to say source. I mean, I feel a little better with God, but I definitely have some wounding with this word because I came from a cult in Israel, from the extreme religion. I don't know if you told him, but yeah. So like, I feel less charged with that word because I actually done a lot of work around healing my relationship to God. But I still feel more resonance with source because God feels like a masculine.
Personified.
Yeah, exactly. And source to me feels like a neutral energy, which I feel like that's what actually like consciousness and source. It's actually like non-duality before there's the polarity that comes in that then, separate and has, you have the masculine and the feminine. But before that even happens, it's just source. It's just, I guess like, yeah, there's no masculine or feminine.
No split, no.
Yeah, it's like from the non-duality, from what I'm understanding. And again, this is not my field of work, but like what I'm understanding is from non-duality, there's like the, I was shown this like so the way I was shown this once I, on a medicine journey, there was like two gray beings that came to show me something, and they like took me on a spaceship on their ship, and they showed me like this like screen, like a big white screen. And it's almost like we were in the screen, and then they were showing me like source, which is like, it was just like white, pure consciousness. And then they were showing me like how like there was like almost like black ink coming out of this white screen, like black ink, that this black ink, it's what is creating the polarity, which like what we could see in a physical world where we're living in. It's like it creates the masculine and feminine, but it's also creates darkness and like light and darkness. So it's like it creates all of these like polarity, which also allows us to create, because if we don't have that polarity, we're just pure consciousness, and like it's kind of that's what it is. There's no polarity. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the way that I love to describe it is, let's say in the quote unquote beginning, do you remember there was a time where screens had this kind of like snowy screen when there was no reception to it?
Yeah.
Good. So let's say this is how things started. And then Source or God asked the question, what am I? So in order for there to be an I, there needs to be an other. And that was the first moment that Source has experienced loneliness. So that ink that you saw there, in my language, that would be the first time there was a definition. A contrast between I and other, light and dark.
Split.
Exactly. This is, from physics perspective, they would refer to it as the Big Bang, right? So in your trip journey, medicine journey, you've been presented, in my perception, the first moment of relationship.
Ooh, chills. That's yeah. I love that. Yeah. So good.
How does it land in you, Rachel?
It reminds me of something Till Swan once said.
I took it from her.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I took it from her. The concept made logical sense to me. And then I've started to understand it also on the experiential level. And mind-altering substances have definitely helped me with that. That gave me the visceral experiential understanding of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hanna came to the planet to remind people who they are, which is source.
Yeah, but I feel like, again, there's like a lot of layers, and I feel like the layer that where I'm at is like, I really like working with the chakras. Like that's my thing. The chakras are like that's the foundation of my work. But I feel like the way I'm looking at the chakras, it's like not like discs. It's like living beings with like infinite layers, and there's so much there. And I mean, I could talk to you, and I'm still learning about it because it's infinite, right? I'm always going to be learning about it, but it feels like very embodied, very like tangible way. And I feel like the reason why I'm so drawn to the chakras is because I feel like our entire human experience is in our chakras. Everything, all of the human experience is in all of the chakras. And when we're like able to kind of come back to almost like a baseline, we're able to remember who we are, remember why we came here. And, you know, and I feel like it could look like a lot of different things for different people, but I do believe that every single person on this planet creates unique codes, like unique keys to the treasure that we all are going for collectively. And we all have those unique codes that when it's activated in each one of us, and then we're bringing our own unique codes to the table, we can co-create something. I have old chills. Like we can co-create something that is beyond what I could ever imagine, because there's so much in our true nature that most of us on planet Earth are so disconnected from, that is so needed on this planet from every single person. If it's art, if it's healing, healing, helping others heal, whatever layer we're talking about, if it's like architectures or technology, or there's so many areas that we all have our own unique like
Contributions.
Yeah, that we came here for. That like I feel like I feel like maybe it's a little bit selfish, but I feel like I just really want to find out what's going to happen when we're all, or a lot of us are in this place where we're empowering each other instead of putting each other down. When we're empowering each other and we're co-creating together as humans, what can happen? I don't know.
Yeah. So when we're moving out from the zero-sum game, I win, you lose, and moving into striving for the win-win, from the principle of understanding that you are a part of me and I'm a part of you. So if I'm hurting you, I'm hurting me. But if I'm actively doing my best to accommodate your best interest, while ideally not abandoning my best interest, what would happen if all humans would have done it? If all humans would have been in that level of consciousness of understanding? And this is what you are curious about.
Yeah. I'm all like lit up when you're just talking about it, because I feel like, that's what I'm here for. And I feel like a lot of people that I'm surrounded with are here for that. I do have like a few people that I can think of that I don't know if they're fully aware of that, but I can feel that they're there, that they're here for that, because they're on their own path and their own journey of like discovery. But again, who am I to say? But it just a felt sense, like there's a reason why like we're resonating and like we're kind of attracted to each other. And I think the biggest illusion is the illusion of separation. And I mean, it's like perfect example of everything that's happening in the world right now, in Israel and Iran and Israel and Gaza. And like, it's all this type of, that's what happens when people stay stuck in this like place with this level of consciousness of like, they can't see beyond the illusion, or they can't see beyond the blockages that block them to see the truth. And that causes all of these things that are manifested on our planet.
So it's the identification that with race, religion, stories that perpetuate the perception of separation, which leads to the zero-sum games. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
What is your perspective? It's a sensitive subject. I know.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about it.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. Like, my higher self agrees.
Beautiful.
And Hannah, I really want you to express, like, practically, how does your work happen? Like, how do you show people, help them remember who they are practically?
Yeah. I love that. And before that, could you explain what a chakra is? Because that's the basis of all your work, basically.
Definitely. Yeah. So the way I like to really explain it in a way that makes sense to people, because like when I connect with the chakras, like I don't have a language for it. It's like I see patterns of energy in my mind's eye. And I really like to talk about the chakras, not as an abstract idea that is like in a different realm, in a different place. I really, really like to bring it into the front row, into this physical world that we live in. To me, what like the chakras are, it's energy centers in our bodies. And those energy centers it's almost like the map that is like the root of our existence in a physical reality, in a physical body, right? And it's like this root of the map is not just it's not like we're coming into this world, we're born into this world in this lifetime that we're in, and it's just like we get a new set of chakras. Like, no, these set of chakras that we have, it's like something that we've been carrying throughout lifetimes and lifetimes, throughout our existence, really.
Like a blueprint?
Yeah.
Like embedded in the soul?
Yeah, it's because it is very connected to our soul, because like this is our energy body. So this is why when I say, like, when we work with the chakras, it's like the information that we hold in our chakras, it's information for all of our lifetimes, for entire humanity too, because what's in the one is in the whole, what's in the whole is in one. And I think the chakras are a gateway to access all of that information. And also, even if we lived in different star systems, like we have all of that memories within our energy body, within our chakras. And each energy center each energy center has its own job. They have very, very different job, each one of them. And again, there's way more than 7. And there's like different traditions that talks about how many there are. But I personally love working with the 7 main ones, because I feel like, again, the entire human experience is in those 7 main ones. There's nothing in the human experience that you could bring to my attention that I would not tell you, like, oh, that doesn't exist in the chakras. Like everything, including obviously our spiritual connection, our past lives, all of it is in our chakras. So each one of them has its own characteristics, its own job, and its own energy, its own expression, its own
consciousness.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's definitely its own level of consciousness. And it's like, this is where it can get very confusing, because like the ways that you could look at the chakras could be infinite different angles, in infinite different perspectives. So for example, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of people that are very, very, very spiritual that they're saying like, don't talk about the root chakra. This is the very low vibration, very low consciousness. And, I don't know like what exactly they mean, but a lot of the times what I'm feeling and sensing from some things that I've heard before is that they're like demonizing the root chakra.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, to me, do you know what I'm talking about?
100%.
Yeah.
Saying don't talk about a subject is saying I want to live in denial. Mm-hmm. Which means I'm going to obstruct what is possibly true, which would perpetuate a sense of disconnect.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, chills. It's also another more like, I think a more simple word is like, you're bypassing something very, very vital in your freaking human experience, because the root chakra is also happens to be the foundation of your building. And a lot of the times that's extreme spiritual people that are like demonizing these lower chakras that are associated with the physical body, that's where you can notice that these people a lot of time don't have ethical behaviors. They either don't have boundaries, they don't know how to respect boundaries. A lot of times they can be very like ungrounded. They're just like kind of floating in the spirit realm, and because they demonize a part of them that is so vital. And I love looking at the chakras, at the energy center, as like living beings, and every single energy and sensation that is in our chakras, it's a part of us. It's like parts of us, like, and it's all, it has so many layers and so many infinite layers and things that we're holding within our energy body. And of course, if we're going to say like, oh, this is something that we're like not supposed to look at, especially if it's like the lower chakra, that you're literally a human in a human body. If you're going to demonize your humanness, then that's not a recipe for success, in my opinion. Or recipe for feeling
integrated
whole,
and aligned.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And whole.
Yeah.
So, yeah. When I hear don't talk about your base chakra or don't talk about a part of yourself, when the denial process happens, those parts in them that they deny will go into the shadow. And because they are in the shadow, it means that they are not valid, how they feel doesn't matter, and they should be hidden. But those parts will not go and disappear or die or get killed. What will happen if their needs will not be able to be met directly? They will do what they need to do to meet their needs indirectly.
Yeah.
Which is the definition of manipulation.
Wow, that's so powerful what you just said. The last thing that, I mean, how you kind of linked that back to that, it's like so powerful. Wow. Can you say that again? Maybe in other words, because I feel like it's so powerful what you just said. And like,
I'll give an example.
Yes.
So let's say in a society, let's take some religious perspectives, right? When sexuality is being shamed and judged and demonized, then you get people that are in place of power, religious power, go in, that are supposed to be a saint and presented as saints, molesting children.
Yeah.
And using their power for sexual gain, which is abusive.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because they have been programmed that their sexuality is not okay, but their sexual parts are not going anywhere. They're just being
suppressed.
Exactly. And are in the shadow. So then you have all these toxic behaviors are coming up.
Yeah. And so good. I literally experienced that from where I came from, obviously. And yeah, like that is that energy, that our sexual energy is in our sacral chakra. And like when we suppress that energy, so the way like it really shows up in the energy, like whenever we're embodying like religious programmings, basically, that's been passing through the family lines, generations and generations down. And like whenever we are in that place, what happens is that this energy center on an energetic level, and this is my like the map, the way I like to use the map. On an energetic level, like what happens in the sacral chakra, it's like so out of balance. The energy doesn't flow properly. And it's like almost like it's been stuck, and it's been like so stuck for all of these generations. And like you say, like it's in the shadow. No one looked at it. No one became aware of like, wow, wait, there's like something here that doesn't flow properly. There's an energy that doesn't flow properly, that then, of course, this is just energy we're talking about, but the energy is the roots of our physical reality. So then it manifests in all these like unethical behaviors and all like this, molesting children, or like even thinking about it. And when we're even thinking about or imagining it, guess what? It goes through the energy too. Even if someone doesn't physically doing it to a kid, it still energetically the kid can still pick it up energetically. And And that's the thing, when in the energy and in the energy body, there's no difference if it happened physically or energetically in the energy body. And so whenever there's so many generations when no one looked at this energy center that is stuck, that has been stuck, that has created all of this twisted, distorted physical manifestations in the lineage, in the world. And again, what level are you looking at? Personal level, in the family, in the lineage, in the race, in the collective. It's like it ripples out like that. And it's like it keeps kind of perpetuating itself. And like it's not until someone is looking at it and like, wait, wow, that was here. That has been here all along. Like we have to like start looking at this thing. And that's where people like us, or people like probably people that are going to tune to this podcast, like people that are into this type of work, that into like, they really want to stop the cycle. They really want to start moving their energy properly in, I guess, in my language.
100%. And an analogy that I love to give to it. Have you seen The Lord of the Rings?
No, I haven't.
Do you know how an orc look like?
I think so. Is it like...
Orc are these disfigured entities that tend to be kind of vile and disgusting.
Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Right. So I would refer to, when I say light, would also be love, which would be to take the other as a part of me, which mean accommodating its best interest with the rest of the system, right? So let's say that sexual part. If that part is being demonized, means there is no light coming in. So if no light is coming in, that part will not receive the loving nourishment that it needs. So it goes into starving mode. So it will start to deform. It will go out of its natural state to the unbalanced state or the dark side. And on an emotional and energetical level, when that darkness is present, the more integrated a person is, the more one would be able to sense that distortion in others. And kids are very intuitive.
Yeah.
So they would sense something is off, even if it's not, has been manifested on a physical level.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming this is part of your experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
And I'm assuming this is also part of your experience.
Take every human experience.
Yeah. I mean, I think even like humans that haven't necessarily went through like a sexual trauma, for example, there's still, because if we're like one consciousness, if we're like one chunk of consciousness and everything moves through the energy fields, that we're picking up whatever is in the whole. So what's in the one is in the whole. What's in the whole is in one. So
fractal.
There's all these ways that we have those experiences within our bodies that sometimes can be very confusing, especially for people that say like, I didn't have a lot of trauma. Like my life was great, but then they have all these like, anxiety or depression or whatever way it or physical disease, whatever way it manifests. And it's like, what's there underneath and how long it hasn't been like looked at.
Yeah.
So what I want to share is that an example that came to my mind, which is not abusive, but it is in the realm of reality for a lot of people, I believe, is that when I was younger, I received the message that, I'm not lovable. And I had these starving parts within me that were searching for love in an indirect way, because I didn't get attention, I didn't get the light. No light was coming in. So my indirect way of getting love would be to have sex with someone, like going through the back door. So once they receive that and they like it, then maybe they will love me. And at the same time, I was on that level, right, energetically. That's exactly what I attracted. I attracted predators that are basically like it was very distorted, because they came for the sex. They didn't come to love me at all. And it was because of that place I was in, and there was no light that came in, and only when light came in, the light, only when light came in, I started to be like, I'm lovable, or at least I can love the part of me that feels unlovable. And then that was a shift, and that started attracting different things into my life.
So the trauma that you've been through programmed you to have these negative beliefs that you're not worthy of love, which has put some parts in you in the dark. And then the dark has been reflected in your outer reality, also with your relationships with men.
The action was distorted, like believing that, if I give like physical pleasure, I would be loved. That's indirect, that's distorted, and it's really sad as well.
A tragic strategy to receive light.
Yeah.
But because the action is coming from a distorted place, you receive pseudo-light.
I received what?
Pseudo-light. Like, quote-unquote, fake light.
Not sunlight.
Like
Fluorescent light.
Like instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you. I'm curious. I'm curious to know if you remember what happened right before the light came in. If there was something in you that shifted, or something in you that opened to it, or internal realization or insight.
It was someone that came into my life, and he kind of like stayed. And I think the aha moment was the first interaction was like basically laying me on the bed and looking in my eyes, not doing anything else. And my level of being like freaked out about it, like holy shit, like no, like resistance, like all of that. And then just kind of like softly letting it go and looking into this person's eyes.
Who is the someone?
You.
Okay. I'm like, why is she doing it?
Yeah, it feels very vulnerable to just, But so he did that, and it kind of shifted something within me, making me feel like, this person sees me, and he's not seeing me for the sexual benefits. He's like seeing me because he is actually curious, and he's actually wanting to understand. And I would like talk so much with you, and I would show you music videos that I like, and you would ask, why do you like it? And like he would sit with me on YouTube, and he would watch like, metal music with me, and we'll talk about it. And I just never had this experience. Like it's like, something cracked and light came in.
You felt really seen.
Yeah.
I really relate to what you're saying. I feel like the way, and I'm going to come back to this because it's really related, because I have the same wound where I felt unseen by my father, and the way that I did it, I was like dressing up in a way, unconsciously of course, to try to hook men to look at me and to see me, and it's like I could not even be aware of it until having something like that, like an experience like that. So, like, until you actually feel seen, or until you actually realize, like, oh wow, why am I doing this? Like, what am I actually doing?
It's not the way.
Yeah.
And that to me would be a corrective experience.
Yeah. Very healing. And in terms of the chakras, so like when something like that happens, there's something in the energy that like moves, that's like starting to kind of, it's like the healing goes on like on all of these levels, especially probably in this case, probably would be more like solar plexus.
And I think we talked about it. I'm not healed. Like I still have these wounds.
Yeah, totally.
And there is not a lot of light that comes in. But now it's not distorted, and it's not in the dark. Now it's kind of like here, right here, kind of waiting for me, to even give it more love. Like it's not something that is solved because we cleared some energy. It's something that's alive in me.
Totally.
Yeah.
So the door has been opened for the light to come in, and now you see the door, and you have a map of how to give that light from you rather than necessarily only resourcing it from other people.
Yeah, I also realized that a bunch of my tattoos that I have were to be seen as well, indirectly. You know, like, yeah. So it's interesting what we do to, you know, get love. It's all about love. So
feel connection and feel nurtured and feel seen, feel loved.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the concept I talked with I don't know who it was, with Joel Chelsea, about the principle of nothing here inside is against me. Because if I'm coming from the perspective that all beings, consciously or not, are doing what they do for a reason. What could be the reason? There is some kind of a need that wants to be met. And at the core of it, consciously or not, every being perspective or level of consciousness wants to be loved. The question is, to what degree is that being part human, non-human, alien, whatever it is, are in their light or in their darkness? And also, when you talk about the chakras, so the way that I see it, it's a chakra system. And the way you speak about it, it reminds me a lot about astrology. Does that...
It's funny because I am so dumb when it comes to astrology. I mean, it makes sense to me. I believe in astrology, obviously, because I think it's all energy, but I'm a dummy when it comes to that. So like I'm wondering how do you see the connection? Like what's...
Like, I'm not deep into it at all. I do see patterns, and I can tell there is something to it. Like when I tried to see if it would be in my best interest to dive very deep into it, I couldn't find enough of a reason to put my resources into it, and I'm always open for my mind to change. Because, for example, when astrology people talk about Venus, it's like you will talk about this type of chakra. It's as if it has its own personality. And then it's how Venus is connected to Mars, right? So that would be the astrological system. And when I look on the emotional system, which is my specialty, there's also these relationships, and each part and parts or camp of parts have their own consciousness and personality. So it's interesting to see how the interconnectedness between the different systems are being manifested, and how some people have their specialities in this type of system and others have a specialty in that type of system, and how similar things can get.
That's the keys, the codes.
There's also the map that Chelsea talked about, and you know, all of it connects. The spiral you talked about, the steps, like, yeah, we have a tendency to map things out, which is very interesting.
Yeah. So going back to Rachel's curiosity, so you gave an explanation of a chakra. So now how do you work with it? How does the process look like?
First of all, I really want to speak into something that you said that it caught me. You said it's not just clear energy. I personally have a lot of resistance to the idea of clearing energy. I know, like you said it, I just wanted to clarify that this is not what I mean when I say like something moved. To me, there's so many like layers upon layers upon layers. It's almost like, and every movement is impacting the whole. Like it's like every movement is not just movement that happens here. When something moves here, it moves everything else in the system. And it's not necessarily like something is leaving or moving out, but it's like more like something is realigning a little bit. And that realignment can manifest in these ways. You know, and the reason why I feel so resistant to when people say remove blockages or clearing energy or like cut the cord or whatever words people use, which I totally respect if someone feels that this is the way to go. But to me, I feel like these blockages that are coming up, or these triggers, or this whatever it is that we want to get rid of, again, just like parts, like it's just like parts. It's like you can't get rid of it. Or you could get rid of it until it's going to come back from a different door because you haven't learned the lesson, or because you haven't created intimacy and like created intimacy with it, or gave space to whatever it is that's coming around it. Like, which is very much related to the process of like, which I'm going to come back to this now, because it's very much related to the process that I'm actually doing in my modality. So the foundation of my work is deep chakra work, and every single thing that comes up in our reality is in our chakras. So for example, I'll give you like a few examples specifically in the sacral chakra, because this energy center like holds a lot. But everything related to sexuality distortion, if someone, it can be like feeling blocked sexually, or someone is like finding their identity in their sexuality. It could be like also emotions, if someone is not connected to their emotions, or like they're overly emotional in a way that like, doesn't feel balanced, like they can't hold themselves, like they're overwhelmed by their emotions. It could be creativity, like blocked creativity, or too open creativity, or codependency, or issues in relationships. Like it can be issues with like romantic relationships, or just relationships in general. This is the relational chakra. This is where we're relating to the world from this energy center. And a lot of the times, like when we see addiction, it's also manifest in this energy center. So to me, when I'm looking at all emotional eating, a bunch of other, negative body image, there's a lot of symptoms that can come up in our physical reality, that all these symptoms are leading to the same point of energy. So to me, the way I like to work is becoming aware of like the root that is causing this symptom. Where is the root sitting in your energy that is causing this addiction? And we're going to get to know this root. And we're going to, first of all, give space to all of the feelings. And this is where the parts work coming in. So what I do weaving. Energy weaving. And the way energy weaving, what it does, it facilitates connection between a client and the specific cell that we're working on, or specific energy, the specific disease that we're working on, specific energy. It could be psychological parts too, but it can also be other parts. I call it universal parts work, because it's everything in this universe is a part of us. So the animals, like let's say I have fear of wasps. Intense fear of wasps. This wasp is a part of me. It represents something. What is this part representing in me? So it's like we can connect to that, but we can even go out even more, like connecting to a loved one who passed, or ancestors, or even extraterrestrial beings. Like everything in this universe is a part of us. And through the weaving, what I do with the weaving is like I facilitate connection between my client to the thing that we're working on. And if they have something specific that they want to work on, if we're just tuning in with their body and we're just listening to what their body and the soul wants to guide us, which is always, this is the guide of our session, is not me, is the client's body and their soul. That's what's guiding the session. And so it can fractalize and go to like a lot of different directions. But the main thing is like, number one is to give space to the feeling. So let's say someone is connecting with like a blockage in their sacral chakra that blocks their creativity, for example. I'm just thinking about something that happened recently. And this blockage, when they're able to connect with this blockage, first of all, I'm going to ask them, okay, I always like to bring it to the somatic. So the somatic to me is like the gateway to everything, because we're in a human body, where it's a human experience. This is the gateway. We're holding everything in the body. And as humans, it's more tangible for us to work with something that is somatic. So it's like, okay, what's the shape, color, texture? What's the intensity from 1 to 10? What's the size of it? Just kind of depending on what's coming up. And then once we identify the shape, color, texture, then we are I'm asking them, how do you feel toward this? Let's say it's like it's a rock, gray rock that's sitting in their lower stomach. Okay, how do you feel toward this rock in this moment? Oh, I feel like I want it to go away. I just really wanted to get out of here. And I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I just want to invite you to just imagine that this feeling of I wanted to get out of here, just imagine that this feeling has just give it all the space that it needs. And imagine it's as if it's almost like this feeling is a little kid and you're its parent and you're just holding it, just allowing it to be here. And usually after we're doing this for a few moments, there's a softening happen which you probably know because it's similar to probably to IFS. And then from there, we're kind of checking, okay, so now how do you feel toward it? Now, okay, I feel a little more curious. I feel a little more like I want to know about it. Okay, great. And sometimes it may look, again, it may look like tons of different things in different moments. So it's always like just working with whatever is being kind of come up to the surface. And then from there, okay, I want you to imagine or visualize that you're sitting on a little bench next to this rock and you're trying to feel its energy. What's the vibe you get from the rock? Oh, it feels very cold, or like it feels like mad at me. Okay, great. So like, first of all, I want to invite you from there, like you're going to open up energetically toward the rock. Before we even talking, before we even communicate with words, we're just opening up energetically, letting this rock know energetically that we're curious about this. Like we want to learn more. We want to connect. And a lot of the time, just this open energetic thing is already going to create a shift. All of a sudden, the rock may be like going to turn toward them before we start asking them questions. And then the next step would be, okay, now we're going to actually start to communicate with this rock. Okay, ask the rock, where did it come from? And the answer may come in a form of image, a form of a word or a sentence, a form of a download, a form of a different feeling in your body, or maybe a memory that comes up. Where did you come from? And then, boom, let's say they had a memory from childhood that happened. So that's when it kind of, there's a fork in the road. That's where it kind of goes into inner child work. And then we're just going into the inner child work where we, again, it's a lot of that is like, I think there's also so many ways to do inner child work. I think a lot of people, when they do inner child work, it's like about reframing memories. And I know there's a lot of other ways too, but to me, yes, there's that element, but that's very rare that I do that unless there's like, we've done a lot of things before. But the main thing is to just kind of be present with what's our relationship to our, let's say, our 5-year-old self. And, you know, in this process, it's like a lot of the times, like, okay, you're going to come as who you are today. And first of all, notice their facial expression, their body language, where they're at. And so like, I'm asking all of these questions to allow them to have a very strong sense. Cause like all of these things are like, you're sensing, okay, I sense that they're outside right now. I sense that they're sitting and they're like with their head down. I sense that there's no one around. Okay. So now we're going to come as who you are today, and you're going to just stand next to them pretty far, but just come in a way that they're aware that you're there, and just notice how do they respond to you being there. And they're like, okay, they feel scared, they feel curious, they feel safe. So this is the reason why I'm doing this, is because I want to test what's the relationship between your current self to your inner child. How do they feel with you? How do you feel with them? So we work on that until we get a little closer. But a lot of the times there's no conversation. There's like only, okay, look into their eyes. When you're looking into their eyes, what do you notice? What do you sense as you're looking into their eyes? Well, I really feel their fear. So it creates a lot, like automatically, like a togetherness, like a sense of
connection.
Yeah. Like
intimacy.
A beingness. Like they're not, because I think the most of our trauma is not when we went through the abuse, for example. Of course, it's a huge part of it, but the bigger thing is that we were alone in it, in the abuse. Like there was no one there with us to hold us, to be with us in it. So it's like really the idea is to create that. And then let's say we're kind of done with this inner child process. And
wait. So there is the connection with the child. Let's say that the child trusts the one who's talking to it. Then what?
So yeah, so then we're depending on the situation. This is where we can go. This is very intuitive work. I feel like it's like really depending on what's happening in the moment. But let's say that child feels really safe, and let's say I feel like a lot of compassion, and we were sitting together in the boat together in this feeling of fear, for example, that they had. So I just like literally will tell my clients, so imagine that you're literally sitting with them. You're not trying to fix the situation. You're not trying to change anything. You're just letting them know that you're here, not even with words, energetically. They're going to feel it. And then from there, see if like a lot of times I'll use sentence stems where, okay, if I could say anything to my little girl right now, what I would say is, and then they complete the sentence.
What happens if they complete the sentence in a way that doesn't let good?
with their inner child.
Yeah.
That happened before. So for example, I'll give you a real example. One of my clients once time said to their inner child, like, oh, it's okay, you're so good, you don't need to cry, you're so loved. And then their inner child got so scared.
Of course.
It's like, oh, they're not like, there's, I'm like, oh yeah, this is wrong, but I'm fully trusting the process, because I think sometimes experiencing it is better than anything I could ever say to someone. So I just allow it to happen and allow them to experience that. And then they're like, I don't know. It's like my child is like super scared right now. I don't know what to do. It's like, okay, well, and then from there, I'm kind of like guiding them, like how to sit with this process. And like, I'm explaining to them in a very gentle way that letting them know that like all of their emotions are welcomed, like whatever they're feeling is welcomed. And it's not, you're only going to be loved if you're happy, and you deserve to be happy. And it's like, so I kind of allow it, because like then they can feel it on a felt sense. And then from there, I can kind of take back the steering wheel and like let them know what to say and how to be. And then the child gains the trust back. So then after we're kind of like going into the process, sometimes in this process, we're going to like ask their inner child, like, is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything you want to, yeah, would you just want to be here together? Do you want to just like do something together? And their inner child is going to choose like, oh, I want to show you my collection of stickers, for example. It can be the stupidest thing ever. Oh, I just want to go and get ice cream. Great. Now imagine you're going and doing it together. So there's nothing to reframe. And of course, like a lot of the times there's a need to take the inner child out of the situation if there was like a very traumatic event or whatever the situation is. But sometimes this most simple ways of connecting with their inner child, like, oh, we're just going to go to the amusement park together and we're going to like have fun. This is the best way that I find that the inner child can actually gain trust with their adult self. And in that way, whenever we do dive deeper into deeper layers, into deeper traumas, there's like a basic trust that is established. Because the way I see it is like our relationship with our inner child is an ongoing relationship. It's not like, okay, I'm going to connect with you one time and we're going to have this amazing experience and bye, never going to see you again. It's like we have to maintain this relationship. Like we have to always, and we may hurt them a lot of along the ways, and we have to come back to it. But so when we're kind of completing that situation, it's like feels complete. We're always going to go back to the rock. I'm going to ask, how do the rock feels now? Okay, the rock feels now, it's not like very hard. It feels like lighter, and it feels also lighter in color. Okay, so that means something moved, but there's still something there. And then from there, we're going into the next question. Why are you here? Or what do you want to teach me? Is there anything you want to teach me? Or, it could also kind of be like more like if it's like an actual part that's coming up, I feel like that's where I will ask like, how old do you think I am? Or what year do you think it is? Or all of that. But like usually the regular kind of process, it would be like, if there's something still there, is like asking like, what do you want to teach me? And then again, they'll receive either an image, a download, a word, or a feeling in their body that says like, I'm here to show you your power. I'm here to teach you that you're a very, very powerful person, or whatever it can be. And then after we receive this, the rock soften a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And we continue to ask it, is there anything else that you have for me? Anything else that's really important for me to know? And from there, okay, let's say it said something, and then I'll tell my client, I'll ask them to ask this, what was rock before, ask it if it has any practice for you, any practical step-by-step process that you could take into your life once we're out of this session. If there's something that you could do to support this process. A lot of times they'll get like the craziest things, like, oh, I want you to light a candle every day, every night before you go to sleep. if it's solar plexus, because this is the fire element. So like just receiving the energy from the fire. If there's someone that doesn't feel worthy or they're like lack power, I just want you to light a candle every day, or I just want you to dance or put your feet in the grass, depending on what, it can be the simplest things ever. But for every person is what I'm learning is it's very different. So that's why I really like to have them asking this part, what is the right thing to, what is the actual process that is being called here. And then once we kind of received all of it, you know, then this is like a tricky process, but I feel like the last part, so the first piece is giving space to all of the emotions, whatever is here, anything. The kind of second step is to develop that intimacy and that relationship and really have that connection. And the last step would be the transmutation through unconditional love. But a lot of the times this transmutation happens automatically when they implementing the practice or whatever it is that they receive from this part, or maybe they're connecting with their inner child every day. So a lot of the time that's what's going to do the transmutation. A lot of the times I'm not going to bring it up if it doesn't feel right for me, but sometimes it does feel right. Sometimes I had someone yesterday that was working with like this, you know, blockage of their sacral, bless you. And what came up for him was like there was a really, really, really old wound, like a grief wound in their chest. And I mean, probably shouldn't say who it is, but yeah, I mean, it's okay. But anyways, it was a very, 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 very old thing that almost like, I mean, it was like a different kind of experience, like a different lifetime when he was an animal and he was eaten. Like that's literally was like the blockage of his creativity. And I just felt like, you know, we received all the guidance, all the teachings, and it just felt complete. It truly felt complete. It felt like, okay, it's done its job. So then that's when I'm asking. And this is so important for me to say this because this is the last step. It's not the first, it's the last step. Sometimes it takes years until you get to that step. And the step is, are you ready to transmute back into love with a lot of love and care? Are you ready? No, I'm not ready. I need 2 more weeks. No, I'm not ready. No. Yes, I'm ready. I'm open to that. So yesterday.
If they say no, how do you react?
If they say no, which happened a lot, like, oh no, I need 2 more weeks, or no, I'm not ready, then if we haven't asked it already, which usually if we're coming to this session, we're like, okay, is there a way I can support you? Like, is there a way I can support you outside of this session? So like, yeah, like I just want to be with you. I just want to support you in whatever way I can. And if it's like still in conflict, which usually I would never ask this question. If they're still in conflict, that's not going to happen. If the parts are still in conflict, there's resistance, it's never going to come, because this is only after they had some kind of process, some kind of deep intimacy, some kind of understanding, some kind of like receiving the lesson, some kind of something like that. That's only when it comes. And again, sometimes it's not coming for many, many times. Most of the times it's not something I would say, unless it feels really right. Like it happened yesterday. And
it's like the vessel needs to be ready for the light to come in.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's like when we're also like respecting those parts of ourselves and those like living beings, that like these energies are like living beings inside of us. And it's like, when it says, yes, I'm open to it, then we're not like coming to it in a place of like, we're going to make you go, we're going to remove you. No, not removing. We're not like, all we're doing in this process is I'm going to tell my client, okay, there's a golden light in the corner of the room. This golden light is unconditional love. Now together, this is a co-creation that we're going to do together. This golden light is going to come towards your chest, and it's not going to try to make this go away, but it's going to hug it. This golden light of unconditional love is going to hug it, and it's going to love it. Yeah. It's going to love it so much. It's going to just love it. It's just going to hold it. And that's where the unconditional love comes in, when they're open to it energetically. And that's when it kind of transmutes the wound, and then they feel lighter. Mm. And then it's crazy, because then this person that I did it with, like yesterday, the whole day, he was very creative and felt very productive, which before felt like he needed to do it from like a needy place or from a place of like not feeling worthy. Like he had to be creative or he had to do it. And then it just kind of came naturally. So this is how fast it can work when like we're literally moving the energy and like actually integrating those parts, because you didn't make this energy go away. You just integrated back to yourself. You just took it back to yourself. You just bring like love back in. And I love to use the external unconditional love energy because most people don't have access to that type of energy in their body. So when I do it from external source, it's always working. Never had a point where it didn't work. They always feel it. They can feel the gold light. They're coming in. And that's when the transmutation happens. So this type of work is like it's like embracing and just like kind of bring back all parts that are all over, like that are, you know, and the access points can be a lot of different things. Like even dreams can be an access point, you know, so many things.
I do want to say that I've experienced your work, and what I find unique about it was that it's like you go into a massage, there's a bed, you lay down, she puts a blanket on you. And
it's very spiritual, like sage and all.
Yeah, and you feel like you're stepping into a place of healing and love. And while she's doing this, while she gets curious, while she's asking the questions, you feel energy. Like she will come, like for example, I have pain here, then she will come and she will stand next to it, she will put her hands, if I'm okay, we touch, and it helps. It's I feel that I'm held, and it kind of like removes that thing that when you're in therapy, you're just sitting in front of the person and there's some level of disconnect or some level of like, you know, professional distance or whatever. So with you, it becomes very personal, like you're touching my wounds, like, you know, and it feels like when you're there and you're investing and putting your energy and love, it really helps. It shifts stuff. So that's what I really liked about it. Like I know I'm coming in here and my body will also relax. Like I will be laying down, held, cared for. So it felt really good. It feels really good.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
And Rachel, when you say it helps, what do you mean by that?
It's basically the feeling of not being alone in this, not carrying this alone, and being seen and witnessed. And it's less distance than a therapist. It's more connectedness. And that helps. It helps in the moment and it just feels good.
I'm wondering if, because a lot of my clients are actually my friends. And, you know, I have two of my clients that are my friends. Was talking to another person, and the other person said, isn't that weird? She's like, we're in the same community, we're like friends. And they're like, no, it's not like that. And I think for me, at least for me, because I don't feel like I'm the one that's guiding the session. It's their body that's guiding it. All I'm doing is I'm facilitating connection. And it's also a huge relief for me, actually, because I don't need to, of course, I need to be attuned and I need to be present and I need to follow my intuition where this is going. Sometimes there's a lot of overwhelm that's happening. Of course, there's all of that. But like really what's happening is like all of what they're getting is from their own bodies and from their own inner guidance. And again, we're talking about wounds, but it can be like, where they're connecting. I had a client where she's writing a book and she felt stuck in writing a book, and she was able to connect to the spirit of her book and receive guidance from her own book. And all I did is I just facilitated the connection. I had another client that she connected with her kids' higher selves. She has 2 kids and she connected with their true essence basically. And she received the guidance from her kids' true essence of how to raise them and how to show up. For example, you have to trust them more, even if they're little, like, and all of that. And I don't feel like I necessarily like did anything other than facilitate the connection, but all of the guidance she received was like her own inner knowing. So I don't feel like it was like this, and I'll share openly about my experiences and like about my stuff that I'm working in. So I feel like this kind of idea of like this like distance that he's created in the therapy world, I feel like it's probably very important in a lot of cases, but I feel like in this specific modality, it's just not, it's like it's a layer that is like, it's not needed because it's not what it is about, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me as long as one is able to be professional in their contact, and by professional I mean not having a bias.
Yeah.
Which means to step into a more objective perspective and kind of be a vessel to it. And on a very high level of that professionalism, the service provider could also bring some of her or his parts, but in a way that does not have an agenda. And when that happens, in my experience, it makes the process more relatable and more intimate. And then the client would experience being even more seen and understood, rather than being in another paradigm where there is this kind of a distance.
Yeah.
But you need to be very strong in it. I had a client that was emotionally attached, like dependent even on me. And it's something for me to look at. But the idea is that it's on me. Like I missed something. I needed to show up in a different way than I did. And I let my mother parts kind of like take over. And so that got messy. So the person doing it needs to be really like own their shit in a way.
I feel like this is when the trust in something big greater than you comes into play. Because I feel like when I'm in sessions, it's like I become a vessel, and like sometimes, I mean, I can cry with client. Like when they're crying, they go through something, I can literally cry with them as I'm holding them because I'm just like with them. But it's like I feel like the thing that is really important for me that I'm kind of feeling into is like the trust in something bigger, trust in my true essence to come through and guide this session. And like, I'm almost like stepping aside. And also it's even comes in an energetic level because like when I'm like working with clients, so I feel like a lot of healers are, have this attachment to, like saving people.
An outcome.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to save you. And like, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think when someone is like aware of it and like they're able to work through it, because it makes sense. I mean, for me, the way it showed up for me and still showing up sometimes is that I have an attachment to my purpose. It's not naturally an attachment to saving people, but it's attachment to this is my purpose, and like my value lies within my purpose. And my practice has been, what if I'm going to sit forever on a chair and not do anything? Could I still feel worthy and loved just not doing anything? So that's kind of have been my process, but I feel like it's very much related. And it's, by the way, it's all solar plexus. And it's like when we're like needing to be the one that's like saving people, that's something for us to look at. But it's even shows up in a way where, you know, healers would say, when I do energy work, like I take on other people's stuff, right? That's like something really common. Like I become fatigued. And, you know, again, I do still think that it's important to do your practices for like before and after sessions and in between clients. But for me, when I'm in session with client, I literally feel like I'm see-through. Like nothing is staying in me. It's all moving through me. When I'm like bringing love, I don't bring it from me. I bring it from that, and it's just moving through me. It's almost like I become see-through, just like a vessel to whatever is needed to happen. And then I think like also with like this type of thing is like you really kind of, and that's again, that kind of goes back to my purpose, is like to remind people the truth of who they are, that they have the power to heal themselves. That it's not, because I feel like so much in our world is like there's this control thing that like, you know, where people are like victims and they're looking for a savior, or saviors are looking for a victim, and like this triangle of like this, you know, this the drama triangle, like persecutor, victim to savior. But like it's like in this kind of work, especially if you want to remind people who they are, there has to be some like integrity and some like remind people of their own power, that it's in there, that it's like, even if they don't think it, they don't see it, but like guiding them to that, their own intuition. Like I have a client that she's like, when we started, like she was so disconnected. She cannot trust herself whatsoever. She's like not seeing anything. Like she cannot have her intuition. And for a few sessions, all of our practices, I just did guided visualization with her, which is very much also included in my practice. Just guided visualization to random places and just ask her, what do you see? Okay, I see a tree. I see this. Like literally, that's how we had to start. Like we had to literally start from that place. And she's like, I don't know. I think I see in the beginning. I think I see this. I think I see that. But slowly, I was like, this is great. We're just like practicing for you to practice trusting yourself and your intuition, because she went through a lot of stuff around that. And it's like, you know, slowly it's like we're starting to connect with other, you know, spirit guides and ancestors, and her dog who passed away, and she could feel it and she could sense it, and she could be like, okay, I really feel like my dog is here, and it brought up a lot of emotion. And so it's like, this is a lot of the time I wouldn't tell her, like, although I did tell her eventually, but like I wouldn't say it from the beginning, like, oh, what we're doing is we're gonna, like, you know, but what I would say in this case is like,
what did you want to say before that, you know?
Like we're not, like, I'm not, I know, just jumping over it. I wouldn't say like, okay, we're like practicing for you to trust your intuition. But instead I'll just like kind of do it, and I'll like, okay. And all I will say though is just whatever you're noticing, even if you're not sure, even if you're just like thinking that your mind is making it up and you're thinking that you're crazy, even if you see something, just say it. Just let's experiment. Let's just see what comes up.
Give her permission to be.
Totally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Neil, about the process that Hanna described?
I want to give a visual representation about the vessel thing, and why sometimes service providers in this field or other fields could experience being drained. So let's say I'm this vessel, right? And then I have a client. So ideally, that client could bring his stuff. I could connect to it. It goes through my vessel, and the cleaner the vessel is, the better the process and my way of conduct would be with that client, and the faster the process will be. Now, within that vessel, there would be some different, let's say, spots within that vessel. Now, the spots can be in their light side or in their dark side, or on the healed spectrum or the wounded spectrum. Now, let's say the story that the client brings, it comes through my vessel, and if it touches a spot that is on a high degree of health, then I could relate to the client. And I could also sometimes share a story that I perceive is relevant for the best interest of the client instead of my own best interest to resolve my own issues. And then the client would feel this sense of intimate connection that is corrective. Now, if a certain spot in me is in the wounded place, then the story that will come up into my vessel will bring up my own traumas, consciously or unconsciously, and then the clarity of seeing the client will start to get blurry, and then I would see him through the lens of my own trauma. That there would be a desire to fix, heal, and to have an attachment to a certain outcome, which in my language is the definition of agenda. So the more professional the service provider is, a story could come up. It could touch a traumatic spot. At the same time, if the service provider is aware that a traumatic spot has been touched, then the service provider could connect to his own spot, all that parts, attend to them, give them the light that they need, and even ask them to tone down or take a step back in order to accommodate the best interest of the client. So instead of that dark spot manifesting, it could dim down, so I could, or the service provider can become the clear vessel again. At the same time, not everybody can do it. I can't do it all the time. Sometimes that spot or that part is active within me within the session will not be able to take a step back at the moment. So then what I could do is either speak for it or to orient my conduct with the knowing that I have a limitation at the moment. And then it would be the responsibility of the service provider to attend to it, either in the moment and after, and also be aware if that limitation could harm the process with the client. And I'm wondering if you ever had it. So Rachel, for example, was mentioning that with that certain client, she had that mothering part coming up. So I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, the story that client brought up in you has reflected back to you your own wounding and your own negative emotions and beliefs. And then that mothering part had an agenda to resolve the situation for that client, which from the trauma perspective is your inner child.
So the client was suicidal, and he expressed he wants to kill himself. Like, he has a part that wants to kill himself. And for me, I had people kill themselves in my life that I know. I had a cousin and someone that I was, in a situationship with. Like, so that immediately brought up all the red lights and all the whistles, and and instead of going in with him and understanding the suicidal part, what came out of me was like, please don't do it. Like something like that, like, gosh, like, like, don't do it. You, like, think about the people around you, how it will affect them. Like, just literally off. Terrible. And thank God this client is very intelligent, and he was able to kind of
call you out on it.
Yeah, and hold me at the same time. Like, look, I know that you're worried, this and that. So it was a learning experience. Like, we're always learning. It was my first client ever. So yeah, definitely.
And what a client to have for the first time. You're like, fuck the deep waters, you're going straight into the ocean.
Yeah.
This is where I just love how, like, the universe works, and like how things come your way and all these ways to teach you. And I feel like I really have a lot of trust in, like, whenever there's like something that comes up or something in a session that goes a little like crooked or whatever, like, I'm like, I trust that this is exactly what needs to happen, either for me, for the client, probably for both. And it's not just with clients, I think it's also in real life too. And for me, the only time that I actually got really triggered in a session was with my husband. Because of course we have all of our layers, but our dynamics were like, he has a lot of resistance to me leading him, and I was like, so he has a part that needs to be in control and like resisting for me to lead him, and I have a part that's like react to this part. So in a session with him, it's like I was like, I cannot believe how you're literally the only person in the world that cannot be my client. Like, I cannot take you through anything. And it's a little different now because he's went through his own process. He had a lot of resistance to parts work until he didn't, and then he realized that it's pretty much what I do, and that he, anyways. But so it's a little different now. But in the beginning, like, we tried it twice, and every single time I got so triggered. like, you just can't do it.
What did the trigger say?
Well, so I could feel like that he's like resisting me, that he's like, he didn't resonate with shape, color, texture. He didn't resonate with parts. So he's like, nah, I don't resonate with it. Like, it's almost like I felt like he's trying to tell me how to lead him.
Debunk your system.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not like, and then instead of setting a healthy boundary and saying like, listen, this is my process. This is how, like, I mean, it's not like we're gonna, I am going with what the client body is, but like, it's like, there is a place where, yeah, like the shape, color, texture is important, or maybe not shape, color, texture, maybe just like a character. We have to connect with this part, in other words. Like, I'm not just gonna, change my modality for you in this moment because this is what I can, this is my gift, this is what I'm bringing.
This is also a part of your trigger, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And this is a part of me, the part of me that feels really triggered is the part of me that not feeling seen by him, that especially this part of me that really wants to be seen by him for my gifts, not just for my vulnerability and for, like, I want to be seen for my gifts and what I can offer, to the world. And there's not, like, he hasn't been able to receive it for a very long time until recently. And, but yeah, so like, in that moment, because I'm getting triggered, this part of me gets triggered. I'm like, well, like, this is, and I'm starting to react instead of just like, if I would be able to attend to this part, I would maybe be able to say like, hey, this is how, like, if you're not resonating with it, like, we don't have to do this. And
That's
just like
still part of the trigger, in my opinion.
What you mean, like the part that would say that?
Yeah. What do you see?
Same.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be like a healthy part in this moment?
No, it won't be a part. It would be kind of like a knowing that whatever kind of needs to happen right now happens, and then going to the resistance that he has from that higher self, and not regarding your process or how it should go or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when we actually went through this process on a journey that we did together, and when we were sitting there, he asked me to support him with this part, and I supported him, and then he said, "Okay, I don't want me." Basically, he was telling me how to support him, and then I was like, "Babe, I'm just not gonna do it." And then I just like kind of laid next to him, and I almost like it's almost like our energy bodies were like this, and then I like literally collected all of my energy back to myself, and then he said, "I feel distant from you," and then he tried to tell me again to come and help him. I was like, I feel like you're hooking me right now, like I'm being hooked into this thing. And eventually, the way that we were able to meet again is to actually work with this part that is resistant, like the part of him. And it could not come from me; it came from him. That he was like, okay, I'm noticing, there's this part of me that like resisting you and like doesn't want to be led by you. And I was like, do you want to work with this part? And then he said, yeah. So then we were able to work with this, and then that's what really kind of changed everything. But yeah, to me, it's also really, really, really hard when you're with your partner, because there's so many dynamics of like, there was a point in time that I was like, I don't think we should do this. Like, I don't think I should lead you into these types of stuff, or you, me, because he's a therapist. So, he's also has led me through processes before, but yeah, I think there's a place where it can be unhealthy when we like become each other's therapists, but there's a place where we could just like kind of like help each other or kind of push each other forward. I think the energy behind it is what's going to distinct in those situations.
100%. Would you like to hear my reflection?
Yes.
So,
are you sure?
Yeah, sure. I'm totally open.
So, but what I see is that there is an identification. A part has been identified with, I have this process. This process works. And it seems to me that part doesn't like its authority being questioned or its capability to be questioned. So if I was in your shoes, ideally, right? What did he say in the beginning? I do not resonate with the shape, text, color.
Yeah. And that was few months. That was many months ago.
Yeah,
that was probably like that was a while ago.
Then I could ask. Then I would assess the level of resistance. Is it a resistance to even be in this therapeutic session? Or is it some resistance to the protocol or the process that I'm currently holding? And the way that I would investigate it, I would ask him, do you want to be here? This is how I would assess the level of resistance. Let's say he says yes. Then I'll ask him, do you trust me? So now I'm checking if the resistance is personally towards me or in the therapy, or more general towards being in the vulnerable place of therapeutic setting where he's the focus. Let's say he doesn't trust me. He says no. Then I would validate it. I would appreciate him being honest with me. And I would tell him that, and I have to be in this place to actually, for it to work, right? I would tell him, listen, there is nothing that you can say that will make me either push away from you or against you. So whatever you say is welcome with me. I will see the reaction. Is something softening or is it still like this? If there is still not a soften, then I could ask, would you like to share what is it within my presence that brings up distrust in you? So he's presenting me a wall. Instead of trying to go against the wall, I want to understand it. And to kind of like you talk about the rock, right?
It's so hard with your partner.
100%. Of course, because there is such a deep level of connection, intimacy, and that's vulnerability, and the spots that come up are on a totally different level when it's with a fucking partner and a friend or a stranger, right? This is it takes a very, very high level of the ability to step into a more objective perspective, because there is such a deep investment within that relationship. So let's say he says that he does trust me. Then I would ask, okay, so when I say texture and the other two things you said, color, shape, when I offer you this type of relating to yourself, what does that bring up in you? So I want to understand if my way of relating is incompatible to him at the moment, and why. Maybe there is some disconnect within him, which will be another wall, another protector, right? That doesn't want him to connect to any shape, text, or color, because then it could bring up some negative consequence from that protective part's perspective. Let's say he says it just doesn't have any shape, texture, or color. Then I would ask, okay, so when you put your attention wherever the attention needs to be put, what comes up? And then I will see, does that make sense, my process?
Totally, yeah. I feel like the way you're asking questions, it's something that I'm like really trying to work on more, to be more like curious about, like just in general. I feel like in life it's something that I've been really wanna work on. And so like what it connects to me in my mind is like, yeah, there's like these places where when I get defensive, it's like it stays like this and it's not coming together. And definitely shows up a lot with my partner. And you know, we'll always work on it, but I think like I do feel like what's going to shift from resistance to like this is the curiosity and the empathy and the curiosity. And like it's really interesting because like you asked me before about like if something like that happens in a session, like when something comes up. So I wanted to kind of bring this analogy that like my mentor taught me about like energy, like, and how the universe works, like magnets, like when there's like two magnets and like they're like resisting each other, like they're like resisting each other. And it can be between different parts of me, right? It can be between me and my partner, and it can be between, you know, Muslims and Jews, like this resistance, right? It's like kind of like as within, so without, like on all levels. And she was kind of showing me like, so whenever there's like this happening within the magnets, all it takes that one side of the magnet will shift. And that shift is usually going to be compassion and curiosity. And then one side is shifting, the other side is automatically connecting, like they're never broken apart. And so I feel like when there's something, she brought it to my life, which was so helpful for me because I really get it in these types of visuals and energy. Like I started practicing it, like even just energetically, even just like on an energetic level. Like if I'm noticing like two parts of me are like, then like I just like bring one part, like just even energetically, oh, like what's that? And then I automatically like feel softening. And the more I've been doing it, even if I'm like with a room of people and like kind of practicing it, and the more you have more people in the room, the harder it is because you're kind of attuning to everybody. But it's a practice, and it's been such a fun practice for me to kind of practice it, even just like energetically, just like bringing energetic curious instead of like, you know, and that like kind of like what automatically creates a shift. So that really connects to me with what you're saying about being curious, is that's what's like going from here to here and then this.
Exactly. And when you say energetically, what do you mean by that exactly?
It's, you know, when you're like setting an intention, for example, you have an intention to, I don't know, like, okay, before you eat a meal, you're just like having an intention that this food is going to go to your body and it's going to nourish your body and it's going to fill your body with love. How would you describe that? And you're just like allowing, like, it's like something that has no words to me. It's like it's something that it's the language before words. Like
The
it's
sense feeling. Sense.
Yeah, like
The sense perception.
it's like energetic movement. Like you're
It is intention. I feel like
I think it's intention. But it's also like, even if you're you know, I think like if you're like, I don't know, like walking into a room and like you are sitting someone across the room crying, and you're just like, you see them and you not ignoring, but you just like really want to send your energy that you're with them in this moment, even though you're not talking to them, but energetically you're with them. And even though they may not consciously know that you're with them, but they on an energetic level, they could feel it. Does that make sense?
Energetical means non-verbal?
It's like your energy goes there, but not your physical body or your verbal, you know, you're not talking.
It makes total sense to me. I have these situations where generally, sometimes with clients, I would sit with someone and I would imagine that from this vessel, light comes up towards me, and I imagine that light going towards them. So that would be
Yeah,
the energy,
totally.
right? So maybe I could define it as non-verbal, non-physical connection.
I feel like it's emotions and with intention.
It's intention, but also you could visualize stuff. You could visualize it. But I feel like the more you do it, the more it becomes very like instant and very like fast, and you don't have to visualize it. It's just kind of like you just set an intention. It's just kind of, it's like a muscle. It's like when you train your energy body, it's like how when I was next to him and I was like collecting my energy, I never knew how to do it before. I was like, because our energies were like immersed with each other, and I was like, no, I just need to bring all of them, because your energy field is bigger than your physical body.
Take me to your inner experience when you call in that energy.
It's almost like a feeling of collecting my energy. It's like I'm not even, I don't need to speak it. I'm just like calling all of my energy to stay in this place.
To me, it's
To
like
not go.
shutting down. Like it's emotion. It's like an emotional switch, and it's like kind of like I don't want to like engage in this, and you collecting it to you, but it's kind of like, you know, come behind this wall right now. Like,
Well, I think it depends where it comes from, because I feel like emotional shutdown, it's usually you're not conscious of it and you're not like actually purposefully like trying to do it. I think this is more like when you're learning to like master your energy, not just your physical body, but like and again, there's always like more layers to it, but you could kind of tell your energy where to go, which is you're doing it very consciously. Like you're very conscious, like this is what I'm kind of doing right now.
So what you described is the dark side of it, and this would be the light side of it.
The unconscious usually, right? I mean, is that what you mean? Like when we're like shutting down, like it's not like we're consciously, okay, I'm gonna like
it doesn't have to be shut down. It can be like a conscious decision of like, I can use the words, okay, I don't feel like it's being reciprocated here, so I'm gonna tone it down, like I'm gonna put a wall or something like that. And you're just calling it energy. You're like, I am consciously, willingly going to retract my energy from him because I feel like he's hooking me. So it's different words, same meaning for me.
Okay, so it's not necessarily the dark side.
Exactly.
It's kind of on a physical level. When I'm like this, it's cold to me, so I'm gonna put a blanket, so I'll not be cold anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. And it is intentional, and you can call it energy. And I mean,
it doesn't necessarily. Well, but for me, I get what you're saying, and for me, it doesn't feel like I put a wall. It feels like almost
that was just an example. Like it's
okay,
but
it feels like I'm bringing all of my energy like to stay in.
I'll give you an example. Have you done Vipassana?
No.
So, mindfulness meditation.
Yeah, I mean, not like in a retreat, but yeah.
So. With the practice of Vipassana or some types of mindfulness meditations, we learn the discipline or the art of selective focus, right? So if, for example, I'm being very activated and I'm noticing that my nervous system is out of balance, I'm breathing in a very constricted way, maybe I'm tripping and the trip is fucking terrifying, or I'm in a session and I sense that I need to clear my vessel, then I could shift my attention towards my breath that already has an anchor to a sense of calmness and presence. So when consciously there is a decision to step into this place, if I'm not too activated, then from part's perspective, what would happen, there would be like, oh, okay, the light is here. We can relax because we trust that, or not, depends on the situation, but generally we can trust that the light will bring up probably the best outcome in the best way. So there is trust in the guidance of that light. So bringing back to what you said, if I look at it from parts perspective, there are parts are scattered all around, some kind of a danger, activation, whatever it is. So like, okay, everyone, come here. We're going back to the center. Let's regroup. Let's have our, let's say, inner Tahoe communication and see what happens. And it can happen in a millisecond. It really depends on the ability of having that selective focus, right? The shadow side of it could be suppression. So an analogy for that would be, instead of, okay, everybody come here, regroup, you go to the room so we won't hear from you anymore. That would be the shadow side.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like annihilate almost in a way.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and I think that this is what you were trying to allude to. Like, that was your suspicion.
No, it's not suspicion. I don't think that's what she did. I think she called back in her energy because it felt unsafe to have it.
No, okay, so I think that's where the misunderstanding was. I felt like I had to honor myself in that moment. And me honoring myself would be not engaging with that in that moment. So it felt like a moment of like, I'm going to honor myself right now. And what would be honoring for me is to just not, falling into these hooks that get me to these places that I feel like rejected or unwanted.
Exactly. So you have some kind of a, let's say, inner child that is getting hooked by your husband, by some of his parts at the moment, and then from an energetical perspective in your language, in my language to be from the parts perspective, right? You saw that child is in distress and could be trauma bonding at the moment. So you had the awareness of understanding that even though that child really wants that hook or that drug or that whatever experience, you understand that it's not in the best interest of that child.
Yeah.
So like, okay, come here, regroup, let's go inside and go from there.
Yeah.
Am I saying correctly?
Yeah, totally. And I feel like I think the reason why I'm getting a little defensive right now is because I do get very defensive of these parts of me. Like if I am noticing, like, it's like I'm overprotecting my parts. Like, okay, I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna like I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna be here for you. Like, and it's like sometimes it may be like not the healthiest, or maybe like it's like there's like a balance to be found in there, but like I feel like there's like no, because I was wondering like why am I getting defensive, and it's like I feel like it's there's like I do feel very defensive of like my parts, and my little girl especially, like she went through a lot, and I promised her over and over again, and I've been showing up for her over and over again, that no matter what, I'm going to be there for her, and I'm going to protect her no matter what it takes from me. Like, no matter what it takes from me, I'm going to protect her, which there's some healthy thing in it, but I'm also kind of seeing like that there's like something that when in the protectiveness of her, I'm kind of, like, I don't need to like really like defend her, if that makes sense. Like there's something there that kind of feels like not balanced or like super fine for me yet.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Does that make sense?
Of course. And it will make sense, like the way you said it. I just called back in the energy because you show up, you want to be doing something for your lover, right? Your husband. And it's being received in some sort of feeling of rejection. So I would do the same. Yeah. Maybe I would notice that I'm doing it, and then I would be like, hey, my little girl right now, this is how she feels. But I would do the same. Like my first instinct would be, okay.
Retract.
Come behind the wall. And then it would be I would be able to speak for her
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, totally.
And also,
Go ahead.
I honor and appreciate that protector part that spoke right now, because I can see how ferocious it is that is coming from a place of love and care towards the child, because she's been through hell, and that part knows that, and that part will do whatever needs to be done in order to protect the child.
Yeah.
Right. So I honor that very deeply.
Yeah, and I feel like the next layer of like reveal vulnerably, that's the part that I'm struggling with, especially with my partner. I really this is in this program right now, this is all that we're like talking about over and over again, like to reveal vulnerably instead of defending. And this is like my, what I'm kind of in this process of like working on and really, like practicing that. And it's so edgy because it's so vulnerable, and like I'm used to like for so long to defend and to protect.
It's habitual for you, for the part.
Totally. Yeah.
Me and him right now, like as he landed here, we both have like inner children dying to like play together, like, love, but we both have walls. And we're communicating through the walls. And then sometimes the wall comes down, there's tears, my tears. And and it's like a kind of like a dance.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds to me that, first of all, I appreciate very much the fact that you have the awareness of even that protector being active and being defensive. Only speaking for that, to me, that's an act of vulnerability.
Yes.
So I don't know if the protector is a male or female, but I was about to say, you go, girl. But I don't know if it's a...
Well, I will say it's easier with you than with my partner. I wish it was. Oh, I feel defensive. I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
I salute you for doing the job, right? Because as you know, everything is connected, and the work that you do has a ripple effect towards everyone and everything, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds to me that you're trying to find the right balance between being protective and being vulnerable, and it's a work in progress. And I'm curious, what do you imagine could help you in this progress?
The word that keeps coming up for me is like refinement, and like it feels like too, how do you say this, like messy, like, I mean, not messy, but it's like aggressive in both direction. It's kind of like either not refined, and I feel like it's like, if it's like sharp corners, it's just like to round the corners almost.
If the corners were rounded, how would that manifest on a physical level?
On a physical level, I think for me what would be good is to practice like have like actual exercises of like sharing vulnerably. So one thing that Amy said yesterday in the she brought up like these exercises. I was like, this would be something that could be really, really great. And it's pulling exercise where you're pulling for someone. You can pull anything, but she was talking about fears, desires, and appreciation. So I'll ask you, what are you afraid of? And then you'll tell me everything that you have to say. And then I'll say, thank you. What are you afraid of? For like 5 minutes. We're just like pulling more and more and more, and also desires. And it could be, I think for me, like fears, or like kind of to practice in those areas would help me to be more revealing. And also I feel like circling. Do you know circling? The practice of circling. Do you know authentic relating? So it's similar to authentic relating, but like less structure. It's more like flow. You guys, we should go.
We should do it.
Yeah, we should just, let's do it. Because they have it here all the time, and I think you would love it. I think you would love it too, but I think you would freaking love it.
Why? Why is that?
Because it's like, it's a practice of, it's like meditation in connection. But okay, let me explain it a little bit different. It's you're owning your experience no matter what. You're owning your experience, and with curiosity. So like if I like want to, let's say something in the circle because I feel like, and I want to say something in the circle about like whatever, something that like I feel whatever, but I feel anxious about saying something, I feel nervous, then I'm not gonna bulldoze through the nervousness and say like, okay, this is what this is what I want to say right now. But I'll say, I'm noticing I feel anxious because I want to speak right now. I feel like anxious about speaking, like I want to speak, but I feel anxious about it. So just kind of like bringing whatever is actually here. So it's like, it's very like a present moment, revealing, owning your experience kind of thing. And
This is my default way of.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Interesting. Okay. I want to challenge you a little bit.
okay, go for it.
Also, Hannah, what is your time restraint? I'm gonna keep eye on the watch. What?
I would say, I can't. Like a 12:45 or something.
It's 12:45.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
42. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do 1. Okay, 1.
Okay. Okay. So what I invite you to do is to share or reveal some kind of a fear or whatever it is that pushes you to an edge. There is uncomfortability in it, but not too much where it feels bulldozing.
I mean, there's a lot of things like coming up for me, but it doesn't feel edgy. It doesn't feel like something I haven't said in places with a lot of people. So let me feel into it a little more. Could you give me like funnel it down a little bit? Like, is it something of like a way of showing up, or something that I'm afraid of in the world, or like?
Could be that, could be something that has a shame attached to it or guilt.
Okay, so this is something that I've been bringing up in circles before, but I'll say it again because that's the biggest thing I can think of. So one of my biggest shadows that I've been working through, and have like deeper layers of the spiral, is thinking that I'm better than others. And so I found out that this part of me that thinks that is like growing up in a cult. Like I was always like less than, like there was like the rabbis and my parents that always made me feel shame in all these different ways, with the way you eat, with the way you dress, with the way you walk around in the world. And so it's almost like in that moment, I'm like very early on, I made an unconscious agreement that I'm always going to be in the superior place where so I don't have to feel the shame.
Being above it?
Yeah, being in the better place, so I don't have to feel the shame. And
what better means?
Like,
More
I don't
righteous?
know, whatever the story is. It could be like better than someone in something, the way I think about things, or better than someone in the way I, whatever it may be.
Can you give me an example?
So there was something that came up for me recently. What was that? I think it's like it was showing up throughout my life in different areas. So for example, for a while I was like a fitness and nutrition coach. I had to be best. I had to be best at fitness. I have to be best at nutrition. I have to be best. And then it kind of evolved to my healing journey, for example. And then I had to be the best at like healing, right? And then spirituality. And then it evolved, and like I have to be the best spiritual person. And it's like kind of like a weird thing that came. But even like I don't know, like even the way of seeing the world and like the way that I kind of have this, I'm really scared to say it. Okay, this feels really vulnerable to say and very, very, very scary, because it may sound like maybe like an arrogance for some people, but it actually feels very scary for me to say this. And I'm not saying it to say that this is true, but it's just saying that there is a part of me that thinks that the way I'm understanding the human experience is like I really feel like I got a lot of things down, and of course I'm always learning more, but like there's like this place where I'm just like looking at my life and I'm like feeling like the reflection of my life in the different areas of my life. I feel like it's all reflecting something back to me, which is, wow, I really got something down. And there's a part of the part that like wants to be better than that, like attaching to this way of almost like it feels like it's a little bit there, but I'm kind of aware of this part. So it's like, it's kind of like weird, because then I'm like, there's like another part that like wants to, like, I don't know, I guess like there's fear of saying that. And like, I don't know, I think my biggest shadow is like being seen in my light and like what I've realized. And I think for me, I don't like to talk about it, but I prefer to like embody it. And yeah, I guess like going back to that part that feels better, then I think there's a lot of like shame attached to it.
What does the shame say?
You can't be less than. The shame, like I feel like I've been such a pro since a very young age to not feel the shame or to defend the shame.
Is there shame in being all that good as well?
I think so, yeah. There's some, I don't know what this is, honestly. Like this, there is a confusion around like, it's not even about like, figure things out and like kind of putting my life in place in all areas, but it's like it's even like just like being seen in my light is just like very, very, very edgy for me and like feels very uncomfortable. And I think, I don't know, I'm feeling confused about that, but maybe there's some shame that is attached to that, because where I grew up, like there was no, like you could not seen in your light. Like if you try to bring your light out, you would be shamed for it or something. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of pieces that are kind of...
Yeah. So let's say here's the shame, and here would be some judgmental voice. What would that voice say?
So this judgmental voice is something that lives in the back of my neck that I've connected with many times, or not many times, but with my first coach a long time ago. And this voice, it's very less now. It's very weak now compared to how it was when I first saw it. But it has this thing that,
Whiplash.
like a whip. Yeah. And it just whips. Again, I don't feel like it's very strong right now. So I don't know if it's honestly, I don't know if it's like an old story that I have or if it's actually still here. But I do know that there's still this shadow that I'm noticing that like sometimes it creeps in, is like, that tells me I'm better. Like even in certain women's group, I'm like, oh, I'm better than all of these women or something.
Maybe you perceive
that's why I don't belong here or something.
Maybe. I'll just say what comes up to me. Like your life is, I feel bad saying it, but like your life is pretty picture perfect in a way. And maybe you're afraid to attach the I'm better than everyone and that's why my life is so picture perfect, or I got it figured out. Maybe there's shame in saying that to yourself.
Can you shaming saying that,
like attaching the part that's better than to how your life looks like, which I assume you see it also as really good and you're really blessed, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the thing that comes up for me when you say
the
that,
ownership of that.
Or attaching it to a part that she perceives as not good, not positive. Like even now that she feels like she has it made, she doesn't want to attach this part to that idea.
Yeah,
wants to
this part
separate
doesn't want
it.
to own this one,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
yeah, I think like what comes up for me is like sometimes I'm looking around and I'm like, it's almost like there's a part of me that like doesn't believe that things could be so good. And almost like because my entire life was a fucking shit show and like trauma after trauma and after trauma. And like at one point in my life, everything just shifted. Literally 1 month, everything just shifted. And then since then it kept going. But like, I think it's like still 2.5 years later, it still feels like disorienting. And I'm like, it's almost like, I don't want to say this word because it's like, I don't want to like put a spell, but like there's like, I guess I want to believe, I'm going to say the opposite. I want to believe that it is too good to be true, that it is possible, that it is our innate ability. But there is some still like hiding or something. Like I can't, if I'm going to speak about, or if I'm going to like be, I don't want to like be flashy, but if I'm going to like be loud about it, not even in a way of like speaking about it, but even energetically, it's not good. Like I have to hide it. I have to keep it a secret or something.
Because something will happen?
Because I think it connects to the programmings that we have around like be humble and you have to stay humble and like don't be arrogant. And I think like there's just like this attachment. Oh, I think that's a piece. Okay. So there's the part of me that is in the shadow. I think it's like arrogant part, like that I'm like disowning basically. Like I'm like, I can't be arrogant. So
what
I'm going to
will happen if you will be arrogant?
I like, it's so interesting because we did the immersion, the women's immersion. And like one of the exercises was like to embody your shadow. And my shadow was to be entitled. Like I deserve everything and just like all about me kind of thing. And I could not even act it, even like fakely. I could not act it.
I think she has a part. Can I speak freely?
Yeah.
I think you have a part that doesn't believe it deserves all this goodness. And also a fear that if you embody that, something bad will happen and it will be taken away from you.
Yeah.
And I think you walked so hard from the part of like, I want to be the best at everything. And now that you kind of like, you have something to feel like you're the best about, there is a shame to do that. And the fear.
Yeah. That's lens for me a lot. Yeah.
So if you look at your timeline 2.5 years ago when you had that shift, so some parts of your system are in this higher vibration place that are in the shift, and other parts are in another lower vibration place before the shift, right? So parts are still in, let's say, kind of different timelines, right? So the parts that are in the lower timeline and I have that 100%.
Yeah.
In their perspective, with me, not only that it's too good to be true, it's fucking impossible. Their perception, so within me, growing up as a child and a teenager, I had certain role models, right? Men. And I could look at different people. Oh, I want to be like him, and I want to be like him. And if I'll be like this is the top of what I can be. And in my current place, the parts that are in that lower dimension, they didn't even know that there is even a higher place that they could not even fathom, right? So the cognitive dissonance that they have is so strong that it to them, it to fully align with this, the felt experience would be death.
Wow.
Because there's too much of a frequency gap between them. An example of that would be, well, for you it will not be that extreme, I assume, but for mainstream person, if I'll come to them and I'll say, do you know that aliens are existing? I say, no, they're not. Well, I can show you. No, you can't. Bam, I shift into a totally different other being. The level of distress that person will have would be so fucking severe because the whole identification he has, personality, system of belief, almost everything is falling apart. Mm-hmm. And that level of cognitive dissonance equals death, because then the structure and the system of that person and how he or she are orienting their life, everything comes to question.
Yeah, if that's true, what else is true? You know? Yeah. Am I believing the wrong things? Like, what the fuck? If aliens exist, like, well, you know? Like,
how do you die?
And an analogy for that from the Matrix would be, they say, Morpheus said to Neo, some people, after a certain age, we will not rescue people from the Matrix because the mind cannot live without the body. Which means for the mind, it will be too much. It couldn't process it. Right? What were you asking?
Well, so do you know Matthias Di Stefano?
Their name rings a bell.
He's very, he talks, he's a guy who remembers all of his past lives, and he's all over YouTube and stuff, but he has a very, very, very complex language, but he's been talking about death and how it's important for us to really die in order to, like, I don't remember what he was talking about, but he said that we need to die. Like, if we're like afraid that something will happen, like we're afraid of death or afraid of whatever, like we need to die in whatever way, shape, or form that it could look like, you know, in meditation or in whatever it is. Like, so it really brings up this thing for me. Like, I'm wondering if like there's a way that, I guess like it may like not make sense, or like how I say it, and like I don't mean like to get rid of this part, but like I want to go toward the death process of what it looks like. Does that make sense?
Yes. So from the emotional perspective, a death would be a shift in identity. So it's a death of a story or a belief and a structure. If we look at it on the physical level, let's say we have the current monetary system, right? Money, right? Now we have what's called the fiat system, the dollar, right? There will come a point where that system will not be here anymore. So that system has died, right? For example, from the emotional perspective, a death could be, so remember how I said some parts are in the dark side? So a death could be moving from the dark side to the light side, right? It's, if we look from a frequency perspective, it's a shift from a certain frequency to another frequency. That could also equate a death. We cannot get rid of parts. We can suppress them, we can deny them, we can pretend as if they are dead, and by that I mean non-existent.
Yeah.
We cannot make part be non-existent. We can suppress it, but they are there. At the same time, they can shift. And if we talk in the language of death, then that means there will be a rebirth. Right? For example, with me recently, and this is a reoccurring theme, at a session with this part in me that has been referred to as an orc. Right? So from that part's perspective, there was such resistance to the light, because when that part has embodied the light, there have been severe consequences. So that part has had to divorce from the light and go into the shadow, into the darkness. So, and that part perceives itself as being bad or a monster or evil, has that identity. When the light comes in, at a certain level, so a certain stage of the process, that part perceived it cannot be in the light because the light is going to kill him. So there is a show, Lucifer, beautiful representation there, where he's identified with being a monster and that being reflected with him looking like the devil. So when he goes to heaven from a place of love to save a loved one and for the sake of mission and purpose, when he goes into heaven, in his conception, if you go to heaven, you will die, you will perish, because you're not welcome, exiled from heaven. Thank you. And he was willing to take the risk because it was coming from a place of light, meaning he would do the sacrifice if needed, and he chose to do it. He flew into hell, and immediately started to feel like he's about to die.
Heaven.
Heaven.
And he was feeling as if he's about to die. He had this kind of a ring that gave him some time to be there. When he took off the ring to give it to his loved one that is in heaven, he started to burn. This is the process of death happening. I have shivers. And what is actually dying is his negative perception of himself of being evil and inherently bad, which is the devil side of him. Because that devil side is now being touched from the light internally and externally. So it's the devil side of him that is dying. And then a transmutation happening, a rebirth.
Transmutation.
So when Lucifer from the show rescues his loved one, there's this beam of light happening, everything turns to light, and we go to the Earth perspective, and she was rebirthed. She came back to life, the one that died, Chloe. And there was some kind of a battle, and then Lucifer comes up, and everybody thought he's gonna die. And he comes back to Earth, and when he comes back, it's very similar to how Neo came back to life when he died in the Matrix. When both of them came back to life, when it was the light that resurrected them, they come with this sense of presence, power, confidence, and knowing what to do that is coming from a highly moral place. And moral is a difficult word, right? Could be different interpretations to that. But let's say from a loving place, which enables them, both of them, to have their spar with the darkness effortlessly. Why? Because their vessel is now clean. So when the darkness comes at them, it's effortless. When Neo dies in the first movie and then being resurrected, the smith, which represents separation and darkness, Neo is like with one hand behind his back, it's effortless. Whereas before the resurrection, it was a hard battle, and Smith actually killed him. But now that he came back, has been transformed thanks to the light, now it has become effortless. Yeah.
All of this to say that you have parts that need updating, and a little one that needs to know that she deserves it. And it's not even, we don't even need to use death. Like, you can just go in there and do that,
Yeah.
and it will really help.
Yeah.
And I think-
That will be a byproduct, a natural
Yeah.
byproduct.
Yeah.
Yeah. To
Right.
me, the death is like also like transformation or transmutation.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah.
All right, I think we're out of time.
No, it's really helpful. I really appreciate you both, this conversation and like bringing up and challenging me. And I definitely am going home with like some reflections about these parts that are coming up. Yeah.
Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's much appreciated that you have your courage to step into those vulnerable place, and the fact that, you know, when Rachel was talking about you, the fact that you have such a strong desire to be in service and are connected to a sense of purpose and mission, I knew that at least talking with you would be interesting. Because you have that shared principle of acting for the best interest of others. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thanks for seeing me. Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you. Yay.
Cool.
Wow.